right, 3, 2, 1. What are we? Some kind of Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within? That was a quote from Final Fantasy VII, popular video game. I'm Adam from Your Movie Sucks, and this is a podcast of, I don't remember the name.
That was a quote from Beau is Afraid. I'm Ralph Seppi, or I'm Beau.
Are you afraid?
Yeah, I'm terrified.
Of what?
Of Beau is
Of
Afraid,
Alex?
the movie. Yeah.
Segue.
You're making me scared over here. Alex is afraid over here. That's who I am. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know whether to lean into the Beau references or the... I don't know. Have you collected your spirit waves over here? What's your phantom intensity right now?
Oh, shit.
Don't use the S word.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
What was the line from the movie? We don't use the S word around here.
I love that you love that movie, it seems. You seem to have at least remembered that it exists. You recommended it. There's something about it that clearly clicks with you.
There is something, yeah. There's stories attached to this movie.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But we'll save that for later.
Okay. Yeah. I'll get my chakras aligned.
Put that in a little box. Yeah. Put that in a little box and save it for later.
A little tease. A little setup for later.
Yeah, a little tasting. Do we want to just go right into Beau?
Beau is afraid.
Beau's scared. Beau's a little bit frightened.
Have either of you seen the short film it's based on?
Oh.
It's like he made a little short film, Ari Aster, years ago, called Beau.
It's just called Beau?
Kind of made it. Yeah, it's called Beau.
I had no idea.
No, I haven't seen this.
Oh, you didn't even know?
No.
I knew this was like a project that he'd wanted to make for a long time. I didn't realize it was based on a short that it got that far.
I also seem to remember this was originally called Disappointment Boulevard.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that was just like a ruse, like a way. It was apparently always supposed to be called Beau is Afraid.
Oh.
It was just like a...
It was just so we got disappointed
the project
by the title change.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm fine. Why? After seeing the movie, I'm fine with Beau is Afraid, to be honest. I get it.
I mean, it makes what it's going for a little more obvious with that title.
Yeah.
Yeah. And plus, it's like the short film, Beau, and then Beau is Afraid. It's like an extension of the short film.
Beau, more like Boo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not a fan, are we?
No, I like. I mean, I have my criticisms. Obviously, I like it overall.
More like Boo.
I'm not anti-Aster.
No. It's crazy though.
Yeah, because of course this is what his third feature, right? And it's kind of what drew me to it. I remember saying in our Midsummer discussion, like, he seems to have nailed this kind of specific type of genre trappings, this kind of tone. What can he do kind of outside of that? And I feel like that's kind of what he's leaned into with Beau is Afraid. It doesn't feel restrained by genre trappings. It doesn't feel like a modernization of the Wicker Man or whatever you want it to be. It does feel like its own thing, and that kind of is both its strength and weakness, because it's quite inaccessible. It's quite an obtuse film. It's extremely long. It kind of devolves as it goes along. It's like quite non-literal at points.
It's 3 hours
get a
long.
lot of answers. Yeah, it's an odyssey. Yeah, it's a whole journey.
The budget on this is crazy. I believe it's $35 million, which is the highest A24 high budgeted thing they've ever done. And it's this movie.
I was going to ask you guys about like what do you think their thinking with that was? Do you think
I don't know,
they were confident they were going to get it back? Because
there is literally no. There is no way they were going to make that back.
They fucking released this movie in like IMAXs. I feel like they at least had some structure where like they were maybe hoping, like, even if they weren't confident
then they were
about
completely delusional.
I think that they were. Well, I mean, they were at least giving a lot of leeway to the guy that like basically made their brand. You know?
Yeah, they gave him a lot of faith. I think they really believe their directors. But yeah, there is no planet where like this movie would do well.
It was a freebie.
It's just like a fucking 3 hour long weird movie. Like, it's so inaccessible. It's like completely inaccessible. We compare it to like Everything Everywhere All at Once from last year. That was the highest budgeted thing they've ever done before this. And that movie is super accessible. So it makes sense why you'd like spend so much money on it. But there's absolutely no way that they thought they were getting their money back with this movie. There's just not a fucking chance. Because it's so out there. And it's 3 hours long.
Maybe they thought the Joaquin Phoenix inclusion, I don't know.
There's a lot of people at casinos that hit the slot machines and they think they're getting their money back, maybe. So maybe it's one of those. Maybe it's one of those like delusional, like, it's probably not likely, but it'll be really cool if it does happen, like.
Yeah. I just hope it doesn't hurt his career in any way.
I don't think it will.
There's kind of an upward trajectory. Yeah. Yeah, it's just I'm looking at like the stats on IMDb right now. It's got 17,000 ratings.
When it came out, there were people like, "Oh, this is a career ender. Their careers are over."
Oh yeah, Joaquin's not. He's going to be removed from Joker too. Like he's done.
Yeah. It's over. I mean, it seems like people like working with them, so that's not it. It's just like a really fucking weird movie.
Yeah.
And it's not a horror movie.
Do we just get into spoilers or what?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to.
Is there something
like watching a 3-hour-long, like escalating intrusive thought. Like there's very little that grounds it, and it just gets more and more obtuse and insane. Like it's kind of categorized by these 4 main locations, and each time they kind of switch location, things kind of start escalating. Like the first part of the movie that's set in Beau's apartment. It's not really going out of certain bounds beyond little hints here and there of like the surreal nature. But yeah, each time with each hour that passes, the more kind of out there it becomes. And yeah, spoilers, I guess. But by the time you're in that last setting where he like confronts his mum and it's like totally going off the deep end and you're seeing giant dick puppets and it's just absolute insanity. It's definitely, I don't know, it's consistently entertaining and all the performances are amazing and the production was just consistently varied and interesting, and I love the way it was all put together. It's just once it ends, I'm a little bit like, what am I missing? I don't know. It felt like there was a point 2.5 hours in where I was like, I've kind of got to accept at this point that there's pretty much no way the last half an hour can make the previous 2.5 hours make sense in any kind of linear, obvious way.
I wasn't holding out for that. I wasn't holding out for that at all. I was, my expectation was, or my hope at least, was to get some sort of like satisfying payoffs, but that didn't really happen.
Yeah, that was kind of my biggest problem, was that each one of these locations was setting up like an intriguing situation, whether it be his reliance on these drugs and he's got to drink water with them at the right time, but the water's come off and there's all this homeless stuff going on and it's like this really tense situation, and that's kind of a fun little vignette in and of itself. But then we shift to a different location. Suddenly there's this new doctor character and his wife, and there's this vet guy who's clearly losing his mind, and they're setting all that up. But then it would jump to another location, there's a new set of characters and like this whole side story with these traveling theater people, and it does feel like it
becomes like a dream sequence of like his whole life.
And then it almost shifts into being an entire dream sequence, and it totally, as far as like any kind of linear plot, I was like really checked out at a certain point.
It's very episodic. It's mostly like just like these little vignettes,
because the whole framing is like his mum like is taken out by accident, so he thinks. He gets a phone call from like a UPS driver who's found her body that had been crushed by a chandelier. So then it's kind of Beau's mission, it's his odyssey to travel across the country to try and get to his mum's funeral. And it does shift to this point where it turns out his mother was never dead all along, and it was all this kind of crazy conspiracy
thing, because there's like, so she like controls a company or owns a company that
she's like a big CEO.
Yeah, but it's like it like controls the entire world, or it like makes everything like microwaves and whatever.
Because she controls his life.
It's like
it's the commentary of the film is about how his psyche has been damaged by like a controlling mother, basically.
Yeah.
And so she controls like literally everything to an exaggerated degree, in the same way that like all of his fears throughout the film are exaggerated. And
but like what? Like the whole
he's
like
utterly
what?
like codependent on her, and he's kind of this helpless character with no agency.
Super surreal. Yeah, I mean, it kind of says like I don't like the movie. I do like the movie. I was just puzzled by why they gave him that money to make it, because there's no way they were going to make that back on this fucking movie. I mean, it is like a total fever dream, like the whole thing. And it's like, it's not a horror movie, but it did make me super anxious at points. like that last half hour or whatever when he's with his, it's like some really anxiety induced. Like if you have anxiety, like it's like stressful. It's just like screaming and like
it's a lot of irrational fears that are kind of just brought to life.
But it's like a fucking nightmare, like especially at the end.
I felt like it was most effective for me in the first half of the film. Like before we got to the play scene, like I was totally into it and I was totally willing or able to absorb the intended emotions and anxiety that the film was bringing towards me. But I feel like there's something about that play scene and in of itself, like it makes for a really good short film within the movie, but I feel like it kind of derails the progression of the plot because up until that point, it's a very clear, like, I've got to find my mother. And the heightened anxiety of like, you know, him when Nathan Lane is like trying to prevent him from going anywhere. And he's like, no, we'll just stay another day. Oh, it's another day. And it turns into another day. Like that's a building heightened tension where it's just like, it's getting worse and worse. And if I don't go now, blah, 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 blah. The clock's ticking. And then all of a sudden we get to the play scene and the clock isn't ticking anymore. And I get that thematically, you know, you want to have this moment of like levity or escape for the character where it's like, okay, this is the one part of the film where he isn't being controlled by his mother and he gets to, you know, escape to this fantasy. But I feel like as a viewer's experience in terms of like really trying to be drawn to something or grounded to something, even though it's a surrealist film, there was that one thing that was keeping me interested in the movie, and it was the progression of him going to his mother. And then at that point, it was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not really supposed to care about that according to this film because we're spending so much time on this. And then like directly after that whole army guy just dies immediately. I was like, okay, that was kind of an unsatisfying build up to that. And then, you know, he gets to his mom and then there's a lot of unsatisfying conclusions to that whole thing. And it's just like, I don't know. I like the movie overall, but I just really wasn't a fan of how long it was and what it wound up doing. I feel like there's a better 2-hour long movie within this in the editing room.
It does feel
I'm torn because on that whole like tangential side quest scene with the traveling theater, like I agree with you. It does kind of feel like it's changing direction all of a sudden, but that was almost what was so kind of refreshing about it to me. The way it was like you're grounded throughout the entire previous like running time with like how this character just has nothing and he's like so ground down by his mother and it is just like stacking misery on misery on misery, and it is this one like kind of shining hope of like the future or some kind of something for this character outside of this oppression that he's experienced. And it is this weird kind of sad ironic joy that he finds through this like theater that he's like stumbled across. And there was something that was where I was kind of really into the movie during that sequence and the way it was pulled off and the way he does go from being like...
because it seems a lot of people didn't like that.
A lot of people find that to be their favorite part of the movie. Like it's very distinct and it's very nice looking.
A lot of people I know like the first part the best. They were more on like Adam's side.
Yeah, I agree with where it sits in the movie, perhaps kind of pulling me out of it somewhat. But as far as like memorable scenes and parts that I'm thinking about, like some of the dialogue in there, it's like a really beautiful sequence. The way
it's a nice like short film that interrupts the plot.
Yeah, but I feel like it doesn't. Like the more I think about it, the more I feel it enriches the character and kind of enriches the experience. And I feel like maybe upon a second watch, I wouldn't feel like it would disrupt me that much. That's kind of how I'm feeling now. But
I feel like it exists perfectly fine within the movie, but the movie's 3 hours long, and that adds to it feeling like come on, get on with it sort of thing. Like I wouldn't feel that way if it wasn't so long. Like not just the sequence in the middle of the movie, but the whole movie itself. Like there's nothing about it. Even the people that love this movie, like no one seems to be thinking that there's any justification for this movie being 3 hours long. Right?
No.
Like it should be, there's a better 2 hour long movie in here. And I feel like you could still have that entire story maybe like condensed a little bit within that. I feel like you could still have that sequence and it wouldn't.
Yeah, I even think about like Midsummer was quite long and they released the extended cut that was more the length of Beau is Afraid. Maybe that would have been a better route to take and release an extended version after.
Yeah, which is weird because I think the extended cut of Midsummer is like way better. It like changes the movie entirely in terms of like, what the intent is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, different contexts. You're able to watch it in the safety of your own home.
This was like, they let Ari Aster do whatever he wanted, basically. This is his full unadulterated vision on the screen. And if you like that, great. I mean, I did really enjoy the movie, but it is a lot. And I was unclear, like, what I was supposed to really get out of it other than, like, oh, it's about this character. He has, like, mom issues and anxiety, I guess. And, like, yeah, this absurdism. Like, was I even supposed to care about the plot? I don't know. Because it's, like, it's so fucking out there that it's, like, kind of hard to care. But at the same time, it was interesting. It does change a lot, which is good. Like, it's not the same shit the whole movie. It does constantly, like, progress and escalate and go different places, which is fun. Like, it was never really boring. For a 3-hour movie, I actually thought it was pretty, like, entertaining throughout. Like, I actually didn't mind being there. Which I was surprised by, actually. Usually I'm the one saying, like, movies are too long, this is too long. But I actually thought this was, like, fine, its length, because it was, like, constantly changing. It doesn't matter how long a movie is, as long as it's, like,
it ends it,
progressing,
it ends its runtime.
Changing constantly. Yeah, it's like, yeah, this was. It wasn't like the Eternals or whatever. Like, it's the same fucking shit the whole movie. And yeah, like, visually, I thought it looked beautiful. That's really what kept me going through it too. Like, it looked amazing. I thought really creative cinematography and sets and lots of, like, makeup and, like, effects, and, like, it was very like, you see the money that went into it. It looks like an expensive movie. I am fucking shocked they gave him that money to make this. I'm absolutely shocked, because this is not, like, anything that you really see in theaters right now, which is maybe that's why they gave him the money, because they're like, this is something different, and it is kind of refreshing. If there's anything to compare it to, it would probably be like Charlie Kaufman's movies is what I was thinking of. I was thinking of, like, Synecdoche, New York, and, like, I'm thinking of Ending Things because of how, like, absurd those kinds of movies are too. But
yeah, it was reminding me
this was leaning more into, like, comedic. It was more like comedic tone with this one.
Yeah,
there were
like
parts
very
that were funny.
dark comedy.
Yeah, and also, like, the horror. Like, it was like an Ari Aster movie, like, with, like, a kind of Charlie Kaufman framing.
Yeah, it's dancing a fine line, isn't it? Because it still has the kind of, it has that gruesome nature like his previous films do, and
yeah,
he has a particular way of kind of showing off dead bodies and gore.
Oh yeah, like the dead body props were great. Like, whenever someone died, it just immediately became like this horribly deformed, like, bloated corpse. It was great. I really like that about exactly. And it goes with the absurdist tone. Like, oh, that fits the movie just fine. Yeah, but it is like it's a lot for, like, a mainstream audience member to, like, take in, but I think people are smart too. Like, I don't just, like, think people are stupid. They just want to see shit like The Little Mermaid. Like, I do think there's an audience for something like this, something a little more absurd. It's just, it's a big risk. It's a huge risk to take. And I don't think it really paid off, really, because critically, it was like, yeah, it was fine. Like, I think critics liked it. It's got, like, positive reviews, but financially, didn't really pay off that well. And that's why, like, the horror trappings or whatever, that works great for him, I think. Like, having some kind of genre to kind of tie him down. Because, like, he's a very creative guy, very ambitious guy, but it's like, like, some restraint really would have benefited the movie a bit. And I think that really would have helped with this movie. And, like, his horror movies are fantastic because he does show that restraint. It's like, at the end of the day, like, he has to have certain scenes in there. And I love that about his movies. Like, he pulls those off great. Like, his horror movies, I like his horror movies more than this. But I think you're right in that, like, it's good that he did something different too, to show, like, he doesn't just have to be, like, a horror movie director, and that's not like all that works about him. Yeah, because he does have a lot of range. Yeah, he's very talented. His movies look great. Really great acting in this movie. Yeah, like, Joaquin was great. Everyone was great in it. Basically, it's mostly him, like, the whole movie. And he carries
I think he's
it.
What kind of carries it and ties it together for me, because this could be kind of a frustrating character, like, he is, like, kind of whimpering, and the whole point of his character is that he doesn't really have a backbone, and he doesn't really know how to fight for himself and put up for himself. So that's kind of the main beat that's hammered home again and again and again. So without the right performance, like, kind of selling that, and he really does a good job of selling that kind of childlike innocence carried into this fully grown man. And there is a deeply sad performance that he brings with that. But there is just something wonderful about it. I kept thinking about Under the Silver Lake with this movie. the kind of paranoid main character, just that kind of dreamlike tone, not really knowing like what's real, what isn't.
Yeah.
The same could be said with like Men or Mother, that kind of tone where it's like,
it's like Mother.
Yeah. Yeah. Where it is just kind of slowly unraveling as it goes along. And man, I'm with you.
Men's like absurd, but I never like it takes place in the real world. If that, like, when there's like tension or tense scenes in that movie, I felt tension for the main character. Whereas this is like, it's so out there. I mean, you can't take any of it literally. So it's just like deflates that tension for me.
Location for me, because I was kind of taking it literally for that first section in his apartment. But yeah, as it goes to, once he was in the house with the doctor and his wife, I was kind of like, the framing of this seems like it's just too much that's like fitting into place. It seems a bit too dreamlike. The things they're talking about, the like weird surveillance stuff on the screens and this weird kind of paranoia that's going on. This seems like it's non-literal at a certain point.
That's my biggest obstacle with like movies like this. It's like, okay, so then if it's all like an allegory or whatever, then like why should I care about anything? And that's like the best movies like find that balance. Like a lot of Charlie Kaufman's movies or like Everything Everywhere All at Once is like really absurd, but there's still like things grounding it. Like a story grounding it. This is just like, it's like watching a nightmare. It is like the whole movie's like a fucking nightmare. Exactly. And I don't know if people want to watch a nightmare necessarily.
I think the intent with that kind of dark comedy edge is that you're supposed to be kind of laughing and chuckling and finding humor to this darkness. And
sure, which I did.
I can within a degree, but it depends on the section of the movie. For the first third, maybe I was kind of like, yeah, this is kind of an interesting tone, like the severe violence and the sadness and the drug abuse and the therapy stuff. It's all like really sad framing, but there's finding the humor in all of this. There is something unique and interesting about that. But yeah, as it goes on and on, the sadness does kind of override any of that comedy. I'm not laughing at a certain point.
That's a huge reason as to why I enjoy the first half more. Is I feel like it tries to. The first half is just so absurd and comical that like it's an absolute riot. And then over time, it kind of like it tries to wrap itself up in a way where, sure, maybe narratively we don't get the exact same conclusions that we would in like a standard non-absurdist film, but it does try to like it insists a level of like self-importance in a way. It insists a level of like tone, kind of like concluding like, this is something that's meaningful, you know. And I'm just like, I missed the comedy. I missed the comedy aspects. And not saying that doesn't exist at all in the second half, but it definitely takes itself more seriously.
Yeah, it leans much more into the horror or like the existentialness of it.
Yeah, it was interesting how it wrapped up to me.
What, that last bit?
Yeah. No, the way it wrapped up, I was like...
Yeah, I like the last part.
Yeah, exactly. When the mother reveal, it like kind of was losing me that she was back, and it was like, you really don't want me to engage in this as if it was like a linear narrative, like a Hereditary, like any number of other movies like this. So then what am I getting from this? But then it kind of shifts into that whole trial sequence where he's like on the boat and it's kind of being stuck in place, and there's the whole imagery with that big stadium, and I thought that was like a lovely framing and like a good visual way to wrap up his story. But yeah, again, just where it happens, and by the time you get to it, it is just like so exhausted and over the top. But what you're saying with it being so kind of exacerbated and almost self-indulgent to a point, I almost feel like
very self-indulgent.
That's the whole point of the project in a way, and that's kind of what I like about it.
Yeah,
the fact
me
that
too.
it is, again, it almost depends like what his ideas for the future are, and like how he's going to follow this project up. Is this just like a showing what he can do type thing, and it's like his passion project? Now let's go back to something a bit more constrained and explore a different area. Or I find him, I'm continuously finding him interesting.
Yeah, he's definitely interesting. I like that it ended with, you know, the whole like you're guilty sort of thing. Kind of wraps it up in a way thematically, because like guilt is the first thing that the psychologist, therapist, fake whatever wrote down.
Yeah.
You know, it's obviously like a recurring theme of like self-guilt and, why he's such a pushover and just listens to everything that everyone else is doing just so he doesn't have to make any real decisions. And they say that like pretty explicitly in the movie too. It's not even just like, oh, you have to like interpret it. Like there's actually a line where they just say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of dialogue feeding into it.
It's fun and interesting, but yeah, no way it can connect with the average audience member. And fuck, I just wish it was shorter. I would have seen it twice in theaters if it was like 2 hours probably. But
it is asking a lot of
asking a lot.
Yeah, without an intermission, like I'm happy waiting for this to come out in digital to see it again, because I am kind of leaning more that direction where like I'm kind of holding off a little bit to rewatch this and kind of see where it lies, because I just feel like it's almost what it deserves, almost what it's begging for. Because of just how dense it is, how much it is trying to do, how much is in there, how much. Like I was just reading some of the trivia and like some of the visual setups that are in the like first act that you wouldn't even know were like setting stuff up in the later ones, much like in Hereditary and Midsummer. But yeah, there is like a joy to be found through exploring it again.
Yeah. When in a time where we're getting movies like The Little Mermaid and like Transformers Rise of the Beasts or whatever, Transformers 7, I don't even know what we're up to. Yeah, this is like, very refreshing, and there's an audience for it. But yeah, I feel like they probably could have made it for a bit less money and it, maybe had a chance at succeeding. Yeah, I just can't get over the resources he was given to like make this. And it's just like, it barely makes sense like the first time you see it. It does require like another viewing, but it is so long as well. I sound kind of harsh on it, but yeah, I'm more just like shocked by it and the fact that they even made it. Like what did they want to happen?
Yeah, what
from
was the
this,
strategy?
Yeah, like what was like the desired result? Was it supposed to be like, oh yeah, people are gonna love this? It's like this 3-hour movie. That's really weird. Yeah, I just don't see it with this, not at all. Whereas Everything Everywhere All at Once, that was super accessible. This is like, eh.
Yeah, what was the last like explicitly surrealist movie that was successful even? Like clearly they should know at this point, right?
Mm-hmm. Not this one.
Yeah. From A24, I can't really think. Like a lot of the time they actually get like
was Mother
backlash.
successful?
No, people hated that movie.
Like that was controversial. It Comes at Night. That was controversial.
I mean, people hated it, but was it like financially successful? Because Jennifer Lawrence was in it, right?
Yeah.
But
the Hunger Games crowd went to go see it, and they're like, "This is not Katniss."
the weird like Bible adaptation.
Okay, it wasn't a huge. Yeah, it didn't like. Depends how much they spent on marketing. It was a budget of $30 million. They made 44.5.
I think of like Charlie Kaufman stuff, like Adaptation and Eternal Sunshine, and like those are surreal, but those are like mainstream.
But those aren't surrealist. Those are way more grounded.
Those are super surreal as well. Like Being John Malkovich is a super surreal movie.
I know, but there's something grounding those films.
Yeah, they ground it in like some kind of logic. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why he's so good at what he does.
But that's why people like it.
Yeah. He explores the consciousness without making it like entirely inaccessible.
Yeah. Yeah,
Whereas,
that's probably like a good filmmaker I could think of. And his stuff has gotten more surreal. Yeah, as it goes along, but it's fine with him because it's kind of his style. Like what you're getting into with Charlie Kaufman. Yeah, this is just such a weird fucking movie. It's hard to make heads or tails of it.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I love about it. It is unique in that way.
Yeah, it is super unique. Yeah,
it's not even like accessible for like the average Ari Aster fan. Like if someone's seen his other two movies, they're like, "Oh, I hope it's like Hereditary." Like, nah, sorry, maybe next time.
Yeah, I still really did enjoy it. Like I said, I don't regret sitting there for 3 hours. But yeah, I'm more shocked by like the behind the scenes, the business angle of it, which is usually like the most important part of like a lot of these movies. And they're just like, it's crazy to see a studio just not care. Like, oh, okay, fine. It's just, that's honestly, it just seems like they don't care. They're like, this is art. This is what the guy wants to make. And if you don't like it, don't watch it.
We're making enough money.
Ballsy attitude.
Now,
yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, they made their money with like other
Thank
stuff.
You, Ari.
But,
they're charging. I looked on their merch recently, A24, because sometimes they have like kind of cool, either Blu-rays or like they have some vinyl LPs that are kind of interesting. The Moonlight soundtrack is $200, and it looks like a nice, like, quality fucking vinyl, but holy shit, that should be like $100 max. Holy shit. It's like a 2 LP thing. It's got like a nice case and everything and some like artwork and blah, 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 blah. $200 fucking dollars? Jesus Christ.
Isn't there the rock with eyes on their store for like $50 or something?
Yeah.
You can make that yourself. Go to fucking Michael's and get googly eyes and find a rock, right? Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
They were selling After Sun Blu-ray that had no bonus features or something.
Yeah, what the fuck? On Twitter. It's not even 4K.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sold out. They'll probably restock it, but yeah, fuck. They sold like a Climax VHS that sold out immediately. It was very low print. I wish I would have had one because that would have been a cool collector's item.
I remember that.
Yeah. God damn you, A24. When will you ever be quenched? You frickin' fricks. What did you think about?
Yeah, what would you rate it, Alex?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more positive than you guys are. As an admitted fan of Ari Aster, and it is exactly what I was saying in our last discussion about his movies. Like, I did want to see something a little bit different. I kind of wanted to see what he would do outside of those horror genre trappings, and I feel like that's kind of what I got. It's kind of more thematically interesting than like anything literal that happens in the plot, and I know that's going to put a lot of people off mentioning movies like Men or Under the Silver Lake or these kind of films, but that's really my jam. I feel like there's a lot visually to explore. There's a bunch of great characters and performances, a really unique tone that you're not really going to find anywhere else. I just like encouraging this kind of weird stuff. It definitely does not come together, and it is big, bloated, ambitious, self-indulgent. But man, this is like a strong 3.5 star, 7 out of 10 for me. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing this again, but it will be in the comfort of my own home, that's for sure.
Yeah, I wish it was reined in more, but I did really like it. I don't want to undersell how much I liked it. It's just I'm like, I don't get the thought process of A24 giving this guy $35 million to make this movie. But I would probably give it the same as you, 7 out of 10, maybe even an 8 on a rewatch, just because I was like so into certain parts of it. But really, I don't know, there's something about it I just didn't entirely connect with, really, and it just needed to be reined in a bit more, or not even by like producers, just like Ari Aster needed to rein himself in a bit.
Yeah, it's a lot,
and like tighten it a little bit. Because there's a lot of good stuff in here. It's like great, I was pretty much entertained the entire time. It's just, it's like, like what's like the ultimate like point? Like, what's this movie like trying to do? And it's just like, I guess it's about his mom and his like anxiety with his mom, and I guess it's like 3 hours of that. Yeah,
it's kind of like exploring conditional love, like
like I got it, but it's like, okay.
Didn't need to be 3 hours.
Yeah, so that's a lot of time to commit to.
I fucking love Under the Silver Lake, and I wish that I was watching that instead for most of the movie. It's, there's so much more satisfying conclusions in that movie. It's like, there's setup and there's payoff, and the payoff is great. And there's more to think about. There's more to, pick on after the film's done. And it's not 3 hours. It's 2 hours 20. It doesn't feel bloated.
That's still pretty long.
Yeah, and it's
2 hours
it
20.
fucking flies by, in my opinion, Under the Silver Lake. I've seen that movie a bunch of times. So yeah, Beau's Afraid, good movie, 6 out of 10. But like, it's weird. It's weird to see a movie that on paper I should love because it it has a lot of the same aspects that my favorite movies of all time have. Have a flawed main character, everything goes wrong around them, very surrealist, sort of interpretable, very well shot, talented actors, et cetera, et cetera. But it's just, it feels so much less intentful and cohesive in terms of like making an entertaining narrative, at least for me. Yeah, it just it's weird seeing a film that I want to watch a second time and I could have seen in theaters a second time, and I was just like, no, because as much as I love it, it was also undeniably an exhausting experience that I just wasn't. I'll catch it in another couple of years or something.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. It is exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would watch it again.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm looking forward to seeing it again.
6 out of 10
Yeah.
for me.
It's a good movie. I might even raise my rating on a rewatch. Yeah, but it's just like, I'm like, what am I supposed to get out of this? It's so crazy and absurd.
We watched Cocaine Bear a while ago. It was sitting in our back pocket for a while.
Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
So we're going to fucking talk about it.
Because there's just like so much other stuff to talk about.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff.
Another thematically deep movie.
So Cocaine Bear, from the director of Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Cocaine Bear.
Elizabeth Banks directing Cocaine Bear.
And this movie sucked too, but not as much as Charlie's Angels. Slightly better. It's about a bear who eats cocaine. That's the plot.
It's kind of one of those Reddit movies,
It's exactly a Reddit movie.
Yeah, where the advertising is the name. All it is like the description,
Yeah.
The bear that gets a brick of cocaine.
Yeah.
That's the
bear did cocaine.
Everything about
I
it.
posted the poster on Twitter, like, what is this movie? And everyone's like, what? Because, it's like Cocaine Bear. What?
What is that? Like, some kind of cocaine bear?
What are we, some kind of cocaine bear? Yeah, like Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But the movie itself is like really fucking dull, ultimately.
Somehow.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like the watching that movie about a guy with anxiety or whatever and mommy issues was like more entertaining. That's like 3 hours long. It was more entertaining than watching this somehow. And yeah, it's because like it's just like nothing in the movie fucking mattered, I felt. Like it was just like a big joke, the whole movie. It was just like
but not even in a good way,
No.
Like there is like an angle where it could be kind of exaggerated to a certain degree or comedic in a way where it's like, oh, this is like over the top and funny and like kind of leaning into
more
how
self-awareness
ridiculous this concept is. Whereas it's kind of stuck awkwardly in the middle where it's like, trying to have these kind of characters with a bit of, I don't know, dynamic going on.
Yeah,
It's like,
it needed to lean more way one, or like it needed to either be super absurd and goofy, or it needed to actually be a good movie. And it's just neither.
Here's what would have fixed the fucking movie is not having the cocaine bear be CG and have it be like either just like the shittiest fucking costume or something cool with like maybe some animatronics, or maybe like a few different costumes that you cheat depending on the angle. And do you know why that would have made it better? Because then they wouldn't have spent the entire movie trying to figure out how not to show the bear. Because that's what they were doing the entire fucking time is like, well, every second we show the bear is going to be like another fucking $1 million. Like when you do it computer animated, you're constantly watching films where it's like they're trying to show it the least amount as possible. And then I watched a shitty film from, I think it was the early 2000s. I did like an Adam and Pals thing on it. It was called Congo. And it had, some animatronic gorillas and like people in suits and stuff. And some of it looked kind of cool. But the one thing that stuck out to me was like, wow, they're showing it as much as possible. Because you make something practical like that for a movie, you want to show it off. You want to show it the entire movie. And then Cocaine Bear, it's like, no, we're trying to hide the bear the entire time. We're going to have most of the movie without the bear. The bear's going to show up, and then it's immediately going to run away and be like, ooh, I'm like hiding in a bush or something. And where's the bear? Where's the bear? Oh, like, fuck off. You're just trying to save money. And then the movie's too dark, too. It's too dark because of the animation, too. It's like it kneecaps the entire fucking film, the fact that it was computer animated and they don't want to spend more money on it.
Yeah, and it's not like a Jaws or an Alien situation where it's like the way it's explored kind of leans into the tension.
Yeah, wasn't it one of those big effects studios that did it? Like, I don't know, Weta.
I think it was Weta.
So, yeah, that's crazy because I thought the bear kind of looked bad the whole movie.
Yeah,
like it just didn't look good. It wasn't like good CG, but it's because like the bear, it was so ridiculous. Like the stuff it was doing, it didn't even act like a bear. Like you need to like ground it, more.
But I think it's just the problem with the premise, like what are you actually going to do? When you actually sit down to write the script and it's like, well, I guess the bear finds a brick of cocaine and then is just going on a murderous rampage. So it's like, okay, so what is the gore like really fun and crazy and it does it keep escalating on that front?
Maybe once or twice.
Really. There's like an ambulance kill where someone gets like scraped against the ground. That's all I remember really.
I thought that was going to be like the end of the movie and then it just kept going. It really like fucking blew its load early.
That lady who had infinite ammunition in her revolver, yeah. It was just fucking dumb, the whole movie. It's like, there was that part with O'Shea Jackson Jr., they find like the kids in the bathroom there, and he's like looking for the cocaine or whatever.
And there's like a fight scene in the bathroom?
Yeah, but he like finds the cocaine like after like afterwards, like I think he searches their bodies or something and it doesn't find. I don't remember exactly what happened, but like
and Ray Liotta was in there. He was like the drug kingpin guy.
Yeah. Ray Liotta in one of his last roles, and he was like wasted in it. One of the guys from The Wire is in it. He's probably my favorite character.
Yeah, I was happy when he showed up. Like
but that's it. Like there was very little I actually enjoyed about the movie. It was mostly kind of dull. It could have been so much better, but yeah.
Nobody acted like they were on cocaine. Nobody. They had to remind us verbally that the kids had cocaine earlier. You know that joke where they're like, "Oh, Mom, what would you do if I did cocaine?" You're just acting like a normal kid. None of you are acting like you're on cocaine. The bear might as well not have been on cocaine. It didn't even act like it was on cocaine. It just wanted more cocaine. That was the whole thing.
That early scene, like, not to pull from your rule book, Adam, but man, the kids kind of like settled the tone for me. You know, when it's like, one of the kids has been dragged away. Yeah, but like, I was kind of like, this scene right now, what they choose to do with these kids that are in danger from the cocaine bear, this is gonna like set the tone of what's to come.
Exactly.
It's like, they're fine. Like, it's not one of those kind of movies.
Yeah.
It's not.
They're not ever really in danger. That would be too upsetting.
Yeah, so then it's like, why are you even making this movie?
It's an R-rated movie. You don't want to show anything explicit or sad.
Yeah, so it's like, what is even the point of any of this aside from just the obvious marketing?
It's just because like Elizabeth Banks, she has like no edge as a filmmaker. Just all of her movies are safe and boring.
You know what's fucking so apparent with this film is like clearly the visual effects supervisor was like doing a lot of the work when it came to how the film was shot. Every time the bear is in the scene, every sequence with the bear, I'm like, oh, there's, the framing's not bad. Every time the bear is out of the movie, it's like, holy shit, you can't even shoot. Like, they had one action scene without the bear in the bathroom. Like, you can't tell what's fucking going on.
Yeah,
like,
that's the scene I was talking about.
Way too close. Oh my God. Awful, terrible camera work, terrible direction. Like, nothing's coordinated. You can barely tell what's going on. Mm-hmm. The laziest, most awful filmmaking imaginable. And then the bear's on screen, and it's like, okay, well, this had to be shot this way to include the bear. Like, somebody else directed this part,
on set.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, right. Because there are effects people on set. Like, oh, shoot it this way to get the bear to look a certain way. Right, exactly.
Which is just like so much more embarrassing that you're watching essentially like two different movies or two different directors throughout one movie, and you can tell exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Do you guys remember that the Olivia Wilde movie from last year? The what is it?
With Harry Styles,
Darling. Yeah,
Don't Worry, Darling. Yeah.
I don't know. What about like just Hollywood actors? They like transition into directing for some reason, and they just make. Yeah, they just make like the worst movies. It's unbelievable.
Like, thing you've ever seen.
Even like George Clooney or whatever.
Fucking Philip Seymour Hoffman directed a really boring movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jack Goes Boating.
Yeah. It was Charlie Day. Charlie Day just directed a movie. I like Charlie Day, but apparently wasn't very. Yeah, it's just
I was like, when I heard about that one, I was like, ooh, maybe I'll write it on my calendar. And then I watched the trailer. I was like, actually, I don't need to watch this movie.
Way on that one.
No,
but I just found that the budget for Cocaine Bear was the same as Beau's Afraid, 35 million.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Beau's Afraid looks much better.
That is funny.
I mean,
much better.
This does have a catchy title and concept.
Cocaine Bear probably made more money.
Yeah, 87 million gross worldwide according to IMDb. So I think they're
just
probably
like,
happy
how
with
can
that.
how can you make a movie called Cocaine Bear so boring? Like, it's so fucking boring.
Yeah.
Like, how do you
Elizabeth Banks?
Yeah, how do you make a bad movie just like added like it's like such an easy movie to make on the surface. It's like you just need some good kills, you need some dumb jokes that are funny. Like, but it just doesn't deliver on like any of that. It's just like a fucking boring movie. It just doesn't, like I said, it needs to like be more ridiculous and like be fucking silly and do stupid shit and like make me laugh, or just be a good movie and have like good characters.
Need a better direction and a better script,
Yeah, because it's a silly concept, but if you have like good characters going through it, like characters you care about, it doesn't matter like how goofy the premise is. You care about the characters. Maybe take that route with it, but they don't do anything with it. It's the whole movie just like struggles to get to the ending. It's just like they were constantly like meandering the whole film. It goes nowhere. And it's so episodic, and the editing and the pacing is like fucking horrible. Like characters just like, remember those hiking characters? They're like in the first 10 minutes of the movie, and they don't show up again until like an hour. And there's just shit, like characters just like disappear for like long periods of time, and you're like, what the fuck's going on with them? There's too many characters in the movie too. It felt like a TV show. It was so like episodic.
It's the kind of thing where like maybe I could imagine like a Lord and Miller coming in and taking like an awful premise like this and making it into something. And they were involved somehow with like marketing or whatever. They were constantly like pimping this movie out on social media, but
really?
they didn't write it themselves. So it must have been their production company or something. But not the right team to do this, not the right script. Just man, it's so forgettable. It's like the worst type of movie to me, where it's like
it really is,
just doing nothing.
And I was kind of looking forward to it, like, oh, it could be funny, but no, it's just fucking boring. It really is just completely fucking boring and reeks of like ego, like a vanity project for Elizabeth Banks. Just to like get something out there, you know. Yeah, the whole movie is one joke. It's the bears on coke, and that's like 90 minutes of that. Like toward the end, I was just like zoned out of the movie, like completely zoned out. Yeah, the end there in the waterfall, it's all poorly lit, fucking dark. That was terrible. The whole thing, it's just so dumb. The whole fucking thing, and poorly made. That's really, the movie's just poorly done. Like everything about it, and not in a funny way, in a way that's like just incredibly boring. Like it almost would have worked better if it was like The Room. It costs like no money to make or something. Like it was just like terrible green screen. That would have even been better.
That would be like a style, you know?
Or, like a Len Kabaczynski movie or something. Like something really bad, or like a Neil Breen style. But it's like a studio movie with this dumb premise, and it's like, yeah, okay, like this, it's fine, I guess, but there's nothing to stand out about it. It's not even the worst movie I've ever seen. It's like really in the middle.
It's just middling. It's nothing.
Which is like the worst thing a movie can be. It's just completely like middling. Yeah, exactly.
And if I remember correctly, because it's set in the 80s, of course it has its obligatory like synth score as well. Like it's just...
Oh yeah, the score was terrible. It was terrible.
Not got an original Burn Its Body or anything to say. It doesn't even lean into, like, I'd forgotten that it was even set in the 80s. It doesn't even really visually.
It was like that Wonder Woman 1984 movie where it had like no 80s music, right? It's like, don't you like,
it's like, do it or don't, you know? Like commit to this in some way. It just seems
so
like
lazy.
An easy project. Yeah,
that's what it was. It's just lazy. They just threw the thing together. Like, who cares? The normies will watch it because it's called Cocaine Bear. That's honestly how it feels. It feels like such a condescending fucking movie.
It's like it's like banking on the audience being in on the joke already. Like they quote like a Wikipedia article like in the opening or something.
Right.
Like, if that's funny.
that should tell you right away. Yeah,
exactly. That's kind of the bar for the humor, and it never really goes above that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's incredibly lame movie for sure.
All right, I guess after this discussion, I'm lowering my rating from a 5 to a 4.
I think I might lower to a 4. I think I already did. If I didn't already,
I'm gonna look up what I rated it.
You know, it's one of those, give it some time, and do you even remember anything fun? Like, was it even that special? Like,
no.
Yeah, the ambulance scene was fun. That's about it. I don't remember like.
That's the only.
You're not really left with much.
And even then, it's just because, like, in contrast to everything else that's happening, it's like, oh, something crazy's happening that seems like it fits the premise. Outside of that, nothing.
Yeah, it's like a hint of something interesting in the movie, but yeah, it's not enough. It's just not enough to save the film from being like. I don't care about any of the characters because they keep jumping around to like all these different characters. There's so many. It's like why do you need like 12 characters in this fucking movie? Like.
And it's not funny. Like it's supposed to be a comedy. That's supposed to be what carries it, and it's just not funny enough. It doesn't have the wit or the jokes to carry it beyond the initial premise.
Yeah. It's so lazy. Yeah, like Elizabeth Banks, she was trying to do something with the Charlie's Angels movie, and it didn't work out. So now she's like, it's like she doesn't care. It's like just like put this movie out, and like who cares? It's just like make something dumb. Because why even try? Why even try to?
She was really passionate about the script. She was like, oh, I just love the story of Cocaine Bear. You have to let me make this movie.
It's like, we're talking about Ari Aster and like what he has been like he's like trying to prove himself at least. Like, oh, look what I'm capable of. Like, look what different kinds of movies I can make as a director. And this is like a step backwards for Elizabeth Banks. It's like, yeah, it's technically a better movie than Charlie's Angels, but it's a much less ambitious film in like a lot of ways. There's less money behind it, less like, it's not like a valuable IP or anything. It's just like they treated the whole movie like a joke. Like they just did not care.
It seems like it's Reddit in the sense where it's like you could imagine the original Cocaine Bear Wikipedia article that this is very, 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 very extremely, extremely loosely based on, like being upvoted a bunch, and then like producers seeing it and being like, oh, there's potential. You know, there's something we can sell. Like people spreading it like a meme. Let's monetize this meme. Let's monetize this thing. It's just vapid.
It is It's incredibly vapid. Yeah, that's a good word for it. And boring.
You vap, bro?
Super boring,
the worst
Vap Nation.
you vap. Yeah, it's incredibly boring, which is the worst thing a movie can be. Not even fucking horrible necessarily. Like Charlie's Angels is actually like torture. But this is like just boring. It's just boring. Proves nothing to me about like her directorial style or anything.
Boring is a phrase.
Yeah, it seemed like a job for her, yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, you're making fucking Cocaine Bear, like do something fun with it. Like, my God.
It's almost like the perfect playground in a way to just do whatever you could creatively think of to, just explore the silliness,
Yeah.
Like, someone who's like ready to show something off to
talented people.
Show their voice off to the world. What it's supposed to be for about like expression. And yeah, exactly. It's, a big miss for me. Just like, I wasn't that surprised. It's not like I was expecting anything from this, but it somehow undercut those already low expectations. Just 2-star for me, like 4 out of 10.
I was expecting it to at least be funny at points, and I don't think I laughed once. I don't think I even chuckled. I chuckled at like how bad some of the special effects were.
Yeah,
which is shocking because it is like Weta, like. But like it's not the effects or the texturing or lighting or anything. It's just the way the bear is animated. It doesn't act like a real bear, so you don't believe like anything is happening in the movie.
Well, it's like the bear in The Revenant is CG, isn't it? Like for that attack sequence.
Oh yeah,
and
that's a great scene.
That for a second.
But it's because it's like grounded. It feels real, like the way it's interacting with the environment and whatever. And it's like especially with a horror comedy, you can really emphasize these parts with the bear and make them scary, which is what I think they were trying to do at points and they completely failed at. But it's like, oh, you can make like a good horror movie about this bear like trying to kill people. There are good horror movies about bears like killing people in the woods. There's plenty of those. They just didn't go there. Like think of like Shaun of the Dead. That has great fucking horror scenes in it and has great comedy. This movie basically has neither. Yeah, I'm with you. 2 stars.
Yeah, trash.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, we got a movie that Alex recommended.
Man, yeah. So, okay, we ready? We ready for this?
I guess so.
Right. Okay, so my recommendation was the 2001 epic Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
What a fitting year to release it.
Yeah. I'm trying to like think of the best angle to approach this movie from. How about this? Like the Final Fantasy, it's just everything about this project. Like it's just so bizarre. Like everything from every angle, no matter how you look at it, it's just a crazy, crazy thing. There's something about this intersection of where technology crosses over with film, where I feel like a lot of filmmakers or storytellers get like so lost in like the potential or concept of what they can do with this emerging technology that it's like. These decisions can be made at such a high level that involve tens of millions of dollars, and like the end result can just be such a mess. And yeah, this is the story of Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. So Final Fantasy as a brand, right? Already quite weird that this was like the franchise they kind of chose to jump into Hollywood. I guess this was shortly after the success of Final Fantasy VII, which kind of took the world by storm and is kind of really well known for its pre-rendered cutscenes, and that was like a big thing as a game company. Squaresoft at the time were really invested in, and they were leading in that market as far as these hyper detailed pre-rendered like video game cutscenes. So yeah, it was this intersection in the early 2000s where I guess they saw some kind of future in this technology, that somehow this was going to reinvigorate film and change everything. Almost in like a Polar Express kind of way, where it's like just this new emerging technology. And it was to the point where it had actors like Tom Hanks, who was quoted saying in relation to this movie, when talking about Final Fantasy and its digital characters, Tom Hanks said, "I'm very troubled by it, but it's coming down, man. It's going to happen, and I'm not sure what actors can do about it." So there was this whole just focus on the technology, like, was really like, I don't know, scaring people. And so many people have been drawn to this, like James Cameron being quoted again and again, like just in the 90s and the late 80s, like having this idea for Avatar, just waiting for this technology to be pushed forward. And he was supposedly like blown away by the tech in this movie, and a bunch of filmmakers were like really impressed with the technology behind this. Yeah.
I was fucking impressed like by it, like just anecdotally.
I remember that was the only. Yeah, exactly. That's the only reason I watched this as a kid.
The hair.
Yeah, outside of being a Final Fantasy fan and kind of coming from that angle of it, those pre-rendered cutscenes were like a big draw at the time. Like, we really hadn't seen anything quite to this level before. Like, it really was impressive at the time, which is like really funny to think about now, and I'm sure we'll get into in a bit more detail when we're actually talking about the movie. But yeah, let me read this. Prior to this film's release, there was speculation that the photorealistic computer-generated actors would revolutionize movie making. There were news reports of plans for the digital actress used for Aki Ross to appear in another movie, or possibly be included in a live-action production amongst real actors. The box office failure of this film put those plans on hold. However, a special sequence created for the special edition version of the DVD, which opens disc 2, does in fact show Aki and other Final Fantasy characters interacting with real people. So somewhere down the line, like, a bunch of people with a lot of money behind them thought that there was some potential in this, and that if this project... Because, of course, this is kind of shortly following the success of Toy Story, which had the blanket of them all being toys, so the kind of textures and stuff you could play around with. Then it had like good writing, good voice cast, really good story. It had a lot of things beyond just the technology that kind of carried it forward and sold this idea of the 3D kind of imagery. But yeah, so... Squaresoft founded this company, Square Pictures, which cost them $46 million just to found and set up. Just because they needed all of these Pentium processors.
Wow. So that's not even like in the movie. Like that's not
before
the budget.
The movie's even
it's like not even the budget.
Part of it. Yeah, exactly. So that's already tens of millions down the drain. And then 4 years later, 4 years of production on this, because every second requires so many hours of rendering, and throughout the entire writing process, they were like tweaking the script. They didn't have anything settled. They weren't working on a finished script. It was just being tinkered with the entire time. The directors they chose for this, one of them was the man who kind of directed the cutscenes from Final Fantasy 7 and 8. So you can kind of see some sense if, he was around for the forming of these kind of cutscenes and what was required for those games. But weird choice with jumping over to then Hollywood narratives and man, like I it's like a real mess, because beyond that there's obviously the disconnect of it's like very ambitious, like a Japanese studio, Japanese writers, Japanese directors writing a script for a movie that's being animated in English. So of course they needed to find someone to adapt their work to localize it into English. So they got the writers of I think iRobot and Apollo 13 to try and adapt it.
Al Reinhardt and Jeff Vintar.
Jeff Vintar. So that's all that out of the way. Like just the beginning of the production. Like, this is one of those movies where it's like everything outside of it is interesting, and the second the movie starts, like it's the inverse. This is all of this work, all of this dedication, all of this in service for what? It's like we mentioned the Mario movie, like when we talked about this latest Illumination one. The original one, the really bizarre Blade Runner inspired one. It's almost like as disconnected to its original IP than that is. Like, what comes to mind when I say Final Fantasy to you guys? Like, what imagery, what ideas?
Fantasy?
Yeah, fantasy.
Which this movie has none of.
I think of what chocobos, crystals, the music, the theatrics of it, like airships. I suppose there's an airship or two in this, but that's kind of about it. I think in order for them to placate Columbia Pictures, they kind of had to neuter anything remotely risky about the core brand. That being the kind of, androgynous, crazy Final Fantasy design that everyone like buys the games to experience and play, and that's completely neutered from whatever this is. The Spirits Within is reference to man, the premise is it's a post-apocalyptic New York is the main setting, which already is weird because I don't think any of the Final Fantasy games are even set in reality. It's all like fantasy worlds, like a Middle Earth, like somewhere that doesn't exist. So already that's kind of a weird disconnect. And then outside, the kind of main villainous force are, these spirits within. It's framed as like an alien invasion, and that's what you're kind of told at the start, and all the characters think that there is some kind of alien invasion that's taken over Earth, and they've had to build these, like, the shield technology to protect from the alien invasion, but it turns out they're just ghosts. Like, the aliens are ghosts.
Yeah, they're spirits.
Yeah. It's like the most convoluted, ridiculously told. Like, man, I don't even know, like, what they were thinking. Because, like, they get together, like, Alec Baldwin, Steve Buscemi.
Oh, yeah,
Ving
the cast
Rhames.
is crazy. Keith David. Yeah.
And I guess the DNA was supposed to be... Because, like, each Final Fantasy game has, like, the party of characters. It's like a big party, and it's them going on some kind of adventure to, like, solve some world-ending calamity. So I guess that's, like, the only thing that kind of really connects this story to the brand in my mind. Because it's more of, like, it's a science fiction kind of military aesthetic, almost like Aliens thing.
Yeah.
Like,
It
imagine
reminded
Aliens,
me
but just
more of,
really
like,
neat and
Halo.
boring.
Yeah, or, like, something like
exactly.
that. Yeah, like Marines and like military kind of tech. I mean, I've never played a Final Fantasy game, so I have no idea what's in those games. But yeah, I saw some video about it, and it's like they were trying to market it basically to a more Western audience. So they like removed all of the elements of Final Fantasy, basically, which is like what.
Which is
people
weird.
liked
Then
about
why
them.
even like keep the title? Why even fucking do it?
Yeah, just make something else. Rebrand it.
Make an original IP.
Because, they're like trying to market to like Western people who don't really watch this kind of stuff anyway. Like, it doesn't matter like what you put in it. They're not going to go see Final Fantasy. Like, the people who are going to see Final Fantasy are the fans of it. So you should make the movie for them, and you should include the stuff.
It betrays its own identity. Because it's like, even if you liked this movie and then go to play one of the games, it's like, it's so different. Everything about it is so different. You're not even going to get the same itches scratched, even if you did like it. So it's just every angle, like, just doesn't make sense. And they were clearly so
Can I just say,
I didn't.
Let me just say, I did not like the animation. I think it's aged poorly, and I just did not like watching the movie. I thought it's aged maybe for the time it looked fine, but watching it today, it just looked like a PS3 cutscene the whole time. It did not do shit for me. I just wasn't impressed by it at all. Especially the humans.
I mean, like, I think in the context of the year that it's made, it's fucking incredible. I think that, like,
it has the Robert Zemeckis problem of like all the people look like, plastic people. And there's no emotion.
I think it looks way better than a Robert Zemeckis film. That had way more Uncanny Valley, whereas this looks a bit more consistent with its own style. The Robert Zemeckis shit, like the eye is in that, like, they always look so weird. And the fact that it was like all like, I think Robert Zemeckis mocapped everything too, right?
What, himself? Yeah, maybe. But like, just like the voice acting too really distracted me. Like Steve Buscemi was super distracting.
That was insanely distracting.
Like
Steve was not. Should not have been the movie.
Yeah. Like some of the other actors were doing okay, but then like him was like, oh, that's Steve Buscemi, and like Alec Baldwin too. I'm like, oh, that's Alec Baldwin. Like, it's just so like, it's so distracting, the whole movie.
For the time period there was literally nothing else that looked like this, which is why anybody saw it is like, oh, the hair physics, like, it moves. How do you make the hair do that? Like, because everything else before that was really blocky Toy Story shit. Like how the humans look like dolls too.
Yeah. But that's the whole movie, though. It has nothing else going on other than the animation. Because like the story sucks, the dialogue sucks. Yeah, like Toy Story is actually like a good film. Like it has good story and character. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is like. As some of the worst dialogue. I wrote some of the dialogue down because I thought it was so funny. I said one earlier. Spirits? I thought we weren't supposed to use the S word.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And then remember what happened to Galileo? They threw him in jail because he said the world was not the center of the universe. That could happen to us. Like literally fucking kill me. Like so bad.
There was one line that was really funny to me.
So fucking
Everything
bad.
has a spirit. Dogs, cats, trees, little girls, like humans was last on the list. Like, whoa, like you put trees before humans. Like everything has a spirit, even girls. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were trying to do this whole Gaia thing where it's like the spirits of Gaia and it's all spreading through everything. We're all connected. It's like it's just the wrong concept to be shoving into this, you know, because I guess they were trying to.
It didn't need to exist.
They were trying to shift it so the alien invasion was actually not what it seems, and they're way more innocent and
humans are the bad guys or something. I don't
nefarious.
know.
Yeah, exactly. And the humans
the writing is just
reacting.
like terrible.
I did not give a shit about anything that was happening.
I had no idea what was happening, honestly.
Exactly.
It was just like a bunch of science fiction concepts thrown at me and a bunch of exposition.
Yeah.
Horrible exposition. The way they like explain the rules of this universe is like some of the most clunky.
Yeah.
Well, it does just remind me of like how video games were written in like the early 2000s, where it was just like man, we don't have expertise in like dialogue right now, but man, we're just gonna drop a bunch of concepts and just keep it moving. We got the barrier cities, we got phantom surgery. Like the main character kind of has this almost infected dynamic going on where like a spirit's like infected her and it's giving her these visions where she's like hallucinating these like dream sequences, but they're not really dreams. They're kind of like a Valerian message that has been like sent to her, and that's like how a lot of the exposition is carried forward. And there's this James Woods villain character who's like really crazy.
Yeah, right. It's like, why don't you find like one concept to focus on, or like rein this in a bit, guys? Because this is like, I literally had no idea what was happening the whole movie. It's just like,
I watched this movie like multiple times when I was a kid too, and I was like really into it or something, because when I was watching it this time, well, I remember vividly the first time I watched it. I remember where that was. I must have watched it multiple times, because when I was watching it this most recent time for the podcast, every single scene was like familiar, but it was just like barely unearthed in terms of like, if you asked me before I started watching like a week ago or whatever, I would not be able to tell you fucking anything about the movie. But as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, I remember this part. I remember this part. I remember this part. I remember I was freaked out at like the whole like, you know, Rayquaza stealing people's blue souls and shit. And like, you know, like that imagery of like, you know, they touch you and then, it steals your soul or whatever. I was like, oh, it's so scary. So I had a fun time revisiting it just for nostalgic purposes, even though it's not like a good movie or anything. And I still don't know what the fuck the plot's about, really. I still don't know anything. I can see
for the time, I can definitely see for the time why people were impressed by the animation and they watch it just for that. Because there were movies I like watched like that as a kid too. Like that's probably why I like the first Transformers as a kid. Like I like the effects or whatever. But there's just like, there is nothing going on in this movie. There's no characters to care about. Like the dialogue is just awful. It's like the movie was like insufferable for me. I couldn't watch it. I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah, I was kind of curious what your experience would be like.
This is like my death to Smoochie.
Oh really?
This is like unwatchable. Yeah.
Wow.
And you know, I can't stand anime either, but this is technically anime, right?
I don't know. Who cares?
It's Japanese animation. I guess. It's CG anime. Which I've seen like Resident Evil Vendetta or whatever, which was also horrible. You know, this is probably better than that. It was probably better than that, but you know, it's just not saying much. And did you say like the budget on this?
Outside of that initial 45 million just to set up the studio, we're looking at about 137 $1 million in 2001. So that is obscene.
That is crazy.
especially for like how it came together. Because all it boils down to is the one fact that this is the first computer generated animated motion picture with photorealistic characters. It kind of begins and ends there. Like, it does nothing outside of that, and it seems like they're so laser focused on that one thing and just achieving that one thing. It's like the story is like secondhand, the characters is like nothing actually to do with the movie is actually interesting. It's all about the tech, and that's all they seem to care about, and they seem to think that they had something with this. Like, there's this on the Wikipedia page for this movie, but on the wiki page there's this crazy section dedicated to the reception of Aki Ross, which is like the main character / digital actor thing they were pushing. There's a cover of Maxim where they have like this Aki Ross character in underwear, and they're kind of pushing it as if to say, she's like, hot. Here we go, this is like the future, like get ready to see her in every movie. This is the new Tom Cruise, but it's a digital waifu. You know, that's clearly what they were envisioning.
They were trying to make the digital waifu like mainstream. But it's just totally misreading the audience.
That's
for,
very
this
funny.
Kind of thing.
Well, Roger Ebert was like fucking into it. He gave it 3.5 stars, and he called this
he was impressed
the last
by the
line
animation.
of his review. It exists in a category of its own, the first citizen of the new world of cyberfilm. Is what he said. Cyberfilm.
That's funny.
It is very funny.
Cyberfilm.
That is funny.
Yeah, you didn't always bat, 1,000.
Especially when it came to like new technology, he always had like really weird opinions. Video games aren't art.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing with this technology, it's aged poorly.
In a weird way, though, he's almost been proven right. Like, there is a lot of truth to like what this pushed. Like, this technology, this motion capture work by the guy Remington Scott, that he pioneered for this film, led directly to Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Like, it's the same tech.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. I didn't know that.
There's always like a little spark in there where it's like this technology can be used to do something to service some kind of story. It's just so rare for like, if that is the impetus of the entire project, for it to
it's just not a good movie.
Together.
It's just not a compelling story. Like, and even the animation, it's just aged really poorly. Like, it looks like a animated movie from 20 years ago when, like, I just watched the original Little Mermaid, and that's like 2D animation, and that still looks great. Like, it's just, it's just like the animation you use, like, think about like how it ages, and like they weren't thinking about that with this movie. They just like, it'll look good for the time. But 5 years after it came out, you had Gollum and you had, all kinds of other shit that probably looked better.
And I feel like
poorly.
You could forgive more if there was a more interesting art direction, if there was an engaging story, if there were characters you cared about. But the whole aesthetic is so wrong. Like, I saw a weird little reference from the art director for the Mass Effect games cited this movie as one of the biggest inspirations, and you can really see it, especially with the army soldier outfit, sci-fi mask with the two eyes. So that's directly in the Mass Effect games, like that armor and everything. But it's like, if something has gotten lost, if that's like if a Final Fantasy movie was able to inspire this like hard sci-fi Star Trek-esque video game, like, something has gotten lost there. Like, it just doesn't make sense with the brand. Everything about this just really doesn't make sense. Like, nothing about this, like, it's funny, Ralph, you've never played a Final Fantasy game, and you probably know less about the franchise after watching this movie than someone who actually knows it. Like, it's a baffling product, everything about it.
It wasn't even successful financially, I don't think. I think the studio lost a lot of money on it, and it almost they almost went under or something. Where I think they got bought.
They almost went to Australia.
Merged with like another studio. But like after. But like they needed to be like bailed out basically, because like they spent so much money on this project that it's just like, man, like the risk versus the reward just wasn't worth it for this. And is this the only movie they fucking made?
There were like kind of direct to DVD Final Fantasy projects, there was one popular one called Advent Children.
That one was better. That had more of
much better than
video
this.
gamey feel, and it was more true to like what it should have been, I feel.
It was it felt like a Final Fantasy thing, at least.
It was more weedy.
Someone who's a fan would actually be like, oh, that's that thing actually from the thing. I'm sure it holds up like terribly. It's like a 2005. movie. And they've like dabbled in other things. I remember when Final Fantasy 15 came out, there was like a tie-in movie that was like the majority of the setup of the story with like Aaron Paul in it. It was really bad. I personally don't think this franchise really is very ripe for cinema, and a lot of the stories are only good because of the framing as video games. Like, I got a big soft spot for like Final Fantasy 12. That's my one, but man, like, there's not a lot of things about it I'd want to see in like a feature film. I feel like they are where what's good about them is because of the medium they're in, and it's kind of where they belong. A lot of these things just need to stay where they are, you know, like it just does not make sense. And even if you are going to adapt it, like, why would you abandon it? There's not even a chocobo, you know? It would be like making a Mario movie without Bowser in it, without...
I don't know what that is. It is, like, baffling. I couldn't get over Steve Buscemi in it. Every time he talked, I was like, oh, it's Steve Buscemi. Like, oh, what's up, guys? It
is incredibly distracting.
It's so butting heads with like everything else going on.
The dialogue especially, it's like... It is bad. In the intro, there's some narration. I wrote it down because I was like laughing out loud at how like just on the nose. Yeah, the main character says, I believe my dreams hold the key. The question is, will it be in time to save the Earth? Like, she says that. Like, she says that out loud. It's, like, so corny. It thinks it's, like, important or, like... Man, yeah, they were just... It's really funny to watch, like, 20 years later. Because it is just riding off the visuals so hard. It's, like, it almost knows it. It's, like, dangling that shiny thing in front of you trying to distract you. But it's, like, well, it's not really that shiny anymore. It's kind of, like, really dull. And, it is an ugly film. It is... Man, I don't think there's, like, a single good scene. You know, where like is even utilizing this technology particularly well. Like, I'm thinking about like all those dream sequences and like the design of the like enemy alien spirit characters. Like, it's so visually muddy and difficult to kind of comprehend like what's going on with the action. And when you do get action and it's like these sci-fi marines with these big guns like shooting at these see-through blobs, like it's like the conceptually the least engaging like ideas that they're playing with. And it's just an utter failure. And I just find this era of films, this early kind of 2000s era where you got your Mars Need Moms, your Final Fantasies, and these weird like the Zemeckis projects, like I find this like fascinating with it, this obsession with the technology to be just such like a warning, you know, such a big space that just you need to think about, you need to avoid it. Just going back to that infamous George Lucas quote, you know, where like if the technology is supposed to be in service of a story, and when there is nothing, if it's just technology, like it is just this empty thing, this super unengaging thing. It's just an utter mess of a film. But
the story
I love
comes
this kind
first.
of thing. It was very funny, like revisiting this, because like Adam, I did watch this a couple of times as a kid, and I had like a few memories. Like one of the only scenes I actually really cemented in my brain for some reason was the Steve Buscemi death scene, where like he's taken out and it's supposed to be this like moment. But I remember just like even as a kid watching it being like, I'm like feeling nothing. Like, there's just
that's funny.
No emotion.
Oh no, guys, help! Steve Buscemi's voice, so distracting.
I was like, I don't know, like I think that the imagery was enough for me of like it touches you, and then like it was like kind of scary, but like I still had no idea what the fuck was going on. I didn't know what was at stake. But I did enjoy it when I was a kid for sure, like enough to like revisit it. Sort of thing. Not for any good reason. I think I was just kind of like enthralled by the visuals, I guess, but
Well, the biggest sin for me for this movie, and Sin, isn't that a Final Fantasy character? Sin.
Sid.
It's Sid.
It's a Toy Story.
I think there's Sin too. Sin, I just looked that up. Sin is the main antagonist in Final Fantasy X. Oh, interesting. Okay. But anyway, the biggest sin of this movie for me was that it was just kind of boring. Or not just kind of boring, it was just boring. And so I just wasn't interested in anything, you know? Yes, that's funny. George Lucas said that of all people. But yeah, you need a good story first, and then the effects come later. or you need to like stylize the animation a bit. Like everything, they were trying to go for like almost photorealistic.
That was definitely what they were pushing for this whole era, like, and it's what they were riding on. I think the failure of this film was so bad as well that it actually like delayed the famous merger with Squaresoft and Enix.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
it delayed the merger because they didn't want to be a part of it. Like after after like the loss that they had on this movie, just like the financial loss of it. Yeah, just like a big miscalculation, like trying to like appeal to like Western audiences. And like, I think the technology was a good hook, but that's like all they had. And it's like it's a waste of potential really, because they could have done something with like a good story. I think it really would have taken off.
I was thinking. It could have also kind of opened the doors to maybe, slightly more adult themed like animation, like if this was actually like a good movie and was a success, just like Toy Story opened that kind of door, like this could have opened another one. But kind of did the inverse. Like it was already a video game movie, so it had that stigma, and it was also working in this just unproven field and kind of showed exactly all the ways it could fail, and it failed in all of them.
And it was foreign too, like just not connecting with the American audience, or like they were trying to with like the mechs and whatever, like that kind of shit. But it's like they were abandoning the fan base that like actually liked that kind of stuff, and that's what they should have been marketing to, because those are the people who are going to see it. People were like, Joe Schmo goes to watch, plays Call of Duty or whatever. Like they're not going to see a Final Fantasy movie, so there's no point trying to get them to try to go see it. There's just no point. They're not going to see it.
Yeah. Instead, they marketed for them, diluting their brand and appealing to no one. Yeah,
exactly. Such a waste, and like just wrong decisions all around. Yeah,
I just love thinking about like where the buck stops with like projects of this magnitude, like coming together in this kind of fashion. Like it's so much money you can't even like comprehend it. And that like. What was it? Is it like the directors? Is it the company? Like, how did they not stop this? Was it just like a sunken cost fallacy thing where it's like, man, we've spent like 3+ years on this. We've already dumped so much into the tech.
It's weird because
we just have to show something.
You have a lot of films that do like test screenings and shit. Like, what they really need to workshop is the script. They really need to like find a way to make sure that they're working with a good skeleton before they spend hundreds of millions of dollars on that skeleton that they can't really go back on.
Seems crazy.
You know?
Well, their attempt was like to get those writers involved who like, wrote iRobot and whatever, like real science fiction writers. That was like their attempt to do that, but it just didn't work. Like the pieces didn't come together really. Like, I don't know. It's just none of it worked. It's kind of just like a bad idea from the get-go.
Horrible idea.
Yeah. And I think like once they realized the story wasn't working, they pushed for the effects more so, and like just focused on that.
They realized the story wasn't working. I think they probably thought the story was fine, but just fucking.
Well, I mean, with them tweaking it, it does feel like something that has been just kind of like Frankenstein together, over the 4 years of like, we've got this bit of tech working here, we've got this effect working, let's put it in this scene, blah, blah, blah. And by the time it's all actually come together at the end of those 4 years, it's just like this incomprehensible mess. Like there may be some fun ideas that you could explore here, but the way they're established and explored, man, it's so convoluted and like unfun to listen to these characters talk about these concepts. And it's like, they've got all this wacky tech and sci-fi things going on, but it's like the least interesting way of presenting it. It's actually crazy how bad and just needlessly complicated. Like, just keep it simple. Like, why have you made this bed for yourselves? It is so complicated and so ridiculously like scatterbrain. And I guess they were trying to have this like these lead two characters be kind of like the emotional heart of it, with the Alec Baldwin relationship. The guy who, I was so distracted just on the Alec Baldwin character alone, because they modeled his face to look so much like Ben Affleck. It was like really confusing me hearing Alec Baldwin's voice coming out of Ben Affleck's face.
Alec Baldwin.
But just just hearing the boss baby talking up against the
Jesus.
book a Boba lady. Like, it's just a lot.
That's what you associate his voice with now. That's great.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my God.
I'm afraid it is.
I feel for you. It's very sad.
I don't know, man. I'd rather watch The Boss Baby over this, probably, you know?
Wow.
I would too.
Wow.
Yeah, Boss Baby. I've never seen Boss Baby. I would rather watch like any other animated movie.
I saw it over someone's shoulder on a plane with no audio.
I bet you were giggling.
Yeah, you know what? Every time I go on a
that.
plane, it reminds me of what the average movie goer is watching. If every time I go on a plane, I see like all these shit, I'm like, no fucking wonder the box office is the way it is. Sometimes
it's all just Jungle Cruise and shit.
Do you? Okay, I'm just gonna give the
exactly.
rating 3 out of 10. Do you ever get like you're on a plane and you see someone like hopelessly scrolling through the movies list, and you can tell like they're just like trying to see what's there. They don't know what they want to watch. They have no idea what the fuck they want to watch. Do you ever get that urge to like approach them and just be like, hey,
No.
I can help you find a movie that you like if you tell me what other movies you like. I feel that way, and I have to hold myself back from doing it because I know it would probably like just be way too autistic. But like I feel that urge, and I have to like fight. There's an intrusive thought there where I'm like, I want to help you. Just tell me what other movies you like. I can give you a good recommendation.
But what if like what if they turned around and were like, oh yeah, my favorite film is Jungle Cruise?
Then I give him fucking another
say?
rock movie.
My favorite
Rock in the Jungle
movie is the
Yeah.
new Lion King movie, the new one.
Then I would give them fucking Aladdin 2019.
Yeah, the stuff like normal people watch, like you would be like shocked at like their taste, like the shit like that they watch and like put up with. Like Young Sheldon or whatever.
I'm a pretty firm believer that like there are great movies that are accessible to everybody too. I feel like the average person who watches like Eternal Sunshine, even though that's like way out there in terms of like narrative and, you know, absurdist kind of ideas presented in a movie, I feel like that's a really accessible, good, smart movie. I feel like the average person still likes that movie. Anyway, say your ratings.
I meant more like, you know, like Toy Story, like the Pixar movies. Like that's a good example. Toy Story, Incredibles.
Ratatouille.
Like most people like those movies. Yeah, Ratatouille.
Yes.
Toying.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
All right, what do you rate the Final
Yeah, like a lot
Fantasy?
of-
Yeah, well, what's your rating, Raph, for this? I'm curious.
I have 1 star. Fuck this shit.
I'm right there with you, man. 1 star. I can't, in good faith, give it anything higher because it really doesn't succeed by any metric.
Wow.
Like it wasn't
But the
even a
technology-
success, you know? But if the technology was a success,
that hasn't aged.
like sure,
it hasn't aged well.
it ushered in Lord of the
that's
Rings,
just
but that's where it was used well. You know, like not here. I can't give this one
Yeah.
the credit for it
It was
because it didn't
hype.
use it well.
Yeah, I give them credit for the effects, but it doesn't save the movie. The movie's terrible. It's my death to Smoochie. Literally unwatchable.
It's for how short it is as well. It does feel a lot longer. It's only an hour 46. But
I think that dragged it down too, because Final Fantasy seems very complicated, and like there's just like isn't there like 25 of those games or whatever, and they like have to condense the story into like 90 minutes.
Well, that's what's weird because like none of them are linked really. Like they're all just kind of their own universe, and each one is like a different setting, different story, different bunch of characters. So just crazy. Like you'd have this, because I think it was probably the peak of the series as far as like brand recognition and popularity. It was probably around the early 2000s, like just post 7, and as they were going into the bigger 3D games. So there probably was a chance where they could have maybe broken that video game curse, but not with like the the angle they chose to approach. I feel like there would have been some extremely entertaining fly on the wall conversations with the behind the scenes of like this, and that's really where my mind goes when I think about projects like this. Like just everything outside it is so much more interesting than the actual product itself, and I just love trying to figure out like how did this go so wrong.
It's interesting to throw money at something and just have like no story. Like you go,
Just
what's
watch
the
it
story?
disappear.
You're like, I don't know. Yeah, you're like, I don't know.
Magic.
Like, how do you not? Like, is it that hard to just come
Gaia.
up with a story? Yeah.
It's like, you're telling me out of all of your history with this franchise, you couldn't have like combined a bunch of the imagery and characters and stories that you already have and just like reframe it in kind of a slightly broader big movie. It's like an hour and a half long.
It's
like,
so easy to write. Why is that
so complicated?
It's so easy. You just need beginning, middle, and end. It's the easiest thing in the world, and like this movie couldn't do it.
I don't think it has any of those. It's just one meandering act that like never really goes outside of certain bounds. Man.
You need cocaine. You need a bear. Done.
Yeah.
Put that in this movie, and maybe
you need Beau. You need fear.
You need children with plot armor.
All right, that's fun. Thanks for that, Alex.
Thank you.
It's definitely different.
Yeah,
definitely different.
I'm glad we all thought it was hype.
I enjoyed it the most out of anybody, I guess. But I was also like, I did it on a watch along thing, and I was kind of like, I wasn't like quietly glued to the film. I was kind of like just talking about my experience with the film and being like, oh, I remember this part. Under those conditions, it was better circumstances to watch this film.
Yeah, I had to look up like on the Reddit to because I forgot the title of it, so I had to look on the Reddit to like find the poster or whatever.
That's funny.
So, like, what is it called? Final Fantasy and the City of 1,000 Planets.
Yes. Valerian and the Spirits Within. So I feel like maybe next time I'm on a plane, if I experience that again, and they're sitting next to me, then maybe I'll like approach them and I'll tell you how it goes. Because now I've opened the box. Now I feel like I need to know how it ends. I need to like choose that story option.
You could tell them like you're a film critic.
Yeah, I would say I'm a movie guy. I can help you figure out what movies you like.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, "Don't touch me."
Yeah, you could say, you like Toy Story, right? Go for the Spirits Within Final Fantasy. That'll scratch the itch for you.
Oh God.
There's
some good shit on airplanes.
Onslaught, man.
There's not.
You should tell them to watch they have stuff in theaters that's like still out. Yeah, you should tell them to watch Beau is Afraid. That's even on there.
On a plane.
This guy's screaming.
Yeah, I'll tell him to watch United 93 on an airplane.
Yeah,
oh Christ.
Yeah, watch Snakes on a Plane or some fucking movie about plane crashes or something. Yeah,
I'll tell him to watch The Boss Baby. No, it's actually good.
Yeah,
and see how long they watch it for before they're like, will they feel bad if they stop it halfway through? If I pretend like I'm so excited about the movie and I'm like, oh no, it's the best. Will they pretend to like it out of social pressure?
I don't know. They might just love it and then ask for the sequel, which you could happily deliver. Because man, there's a sequel. There's a whole TV show.
I'm gonna blow your mind. There's more.
Yeah. Whoa! I'm not gonna believe this shit, man.
This person that's never heard of The Boss Baby.
I got a new content for you.
That's the thing. It's like I think the average person is only aware of films that have been like explicitly advertised out the ass to them.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot of accessible films that more people would love if they just knew about them, but they just don't know how to find them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't even hear about it. Like, how are they supposed to know it even exists? Like, most people just see the billboards or like commercials or shit, or they like like
especially
that's like what Disney
distribution.
is. Like Disney's whole fucking thing is like you go to their park. They market the shit out of all their movies, and then you watch their movies, and you watch their TV shows, and in those, they market the same shit to you to go to the parks again. Like, that's like their whole it's like a cycle of like advertising.
Endless.
It's kind of brilliant.
Stuff. Yeah.
it's kind of fucking genius, but also,
Disney is a well-oiled machine, is what they are.
Yeah, they are. That's like so many people go see Little Mermaid. It's like, because literally millions of people go to Disney, and they see like Ariel's fucking poster or whatever.
I thought that nobody saw it,
and then it makes them want to. Oh yeah, that's right.
Go with good bread, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to do questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh no, let's just skip questions this week. No,
actually, yeah,
kidding.
Yeah, fuck these guys.
All right, bye everybody.
The comments.
We cut it short this week. Thank God.
Dweebs.
All right, no, I'm kidding.
Get pranked.
Yeah.
Before we jump into the comments, there is one thing I wanted to mention. Not to do with Final Fantasy or anything, but more just on the video game Onslaught that's like on the future. Have you guys seen this Gran Turismo movie? It's like the next one.
I saw the trailer.
Neil Blomkamp.
But I only bring it up because Neil Blomkamp like directed.
I know.
Quite weird. Like,
but
I guess
he's made one good movie. Like,
I mean, what else is he doing, really?
Did you know that, like, to spell his name, there's actually like 2 L's in Neil's? In the Neil, it's because the other L is for his films. Got him. I've been saying that one a lot.
Oh,
Neil L. Blomkamp.
He has ridden off District 9 for sure.
Blomkamp.
It's just like, there's that. There's the Ghost of Tsushima movie that's coming. Man, just...
right.
We're entering the gamer era of filmmaking.
It's where, the people making films are old enough to be like gamers, like everyone else. So we're just going to see more and more of it. We'll
figure it out eventually.
I was thinking, you've seen video game movies pop up like a little bit over the past 2 decades or so. Not like a lot, but they've been there. They haven't done well, but they've definitely been trying. The studios have been trying to like make it work. And now it's like finally taken off.
We're about to
and I'm like trying
spammed.
to think of the next one. Like, what's the next thing they're going to try to milk or whatever that they're like attempting to do now? And I was thinking maybe it's like live action anime adaptations, because I've seen quite a few of those now.
Successful enough, though. You know?
Netflix is trying. They're not doing it very well.
They're definitely trying to do that. And like, those are awful for sure. But I feel like if they keep trying, eventually one might work and people will like, not that I'll like it. I probably won't, but there will be people that like it and that'll be the next fucking thing. That's like my prediction.
This Jason Momoa Minecraft movie is probably just going to be disgustingly huge.
Jason Momoa Minecraft? This is the first I'm hearing of that. That sounds hilarious. What the fuck?
Yeah.
2025,
that's looking at.
And I had some faith in Jason Momoa. Like, I actually like him as an actor. I think he's a good actor. He's the best part of that new Fast and Furious movie. He's probably the best actor.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Performance. Yeah, and it was just like, I don't know. I felt like he could have done something better than that. That's his Free Guy, I guess. He'll just make money.
Free Guy.
Yeah.
Free Guy 2, maybe that'll be the next big game movie.
Yeah. Well, Free Guy is like the video game movie in a way. It wasn't, based on anything, but
it had a Fortnite references.
Had a
for sure.
Fortnite reference. Yeah.
Dude, when he had the lightsaber out and it played the Star Wars music.
Dude, Chris Evans showed up.
Oh my god, I came.
Yeah.
My favorite video game, the Avengers.
I just like seeing myself represented in films, and I felt like he was really me.
Oh.
I really saw myself in Free Guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really similar to my fanfic self-insert character,
Yeah.
He's got the portal gun, he's got the gravity gun, he's got abilities.
Dude, when the Thor hammer came out and they played the Avengers music, I was like, dude, that was the Avengers music that they just played.
Yeah, they played the Star Wars music
down my spine.
I came the second time. Very quickly in succession. Speaking of Succession.
Amazing segue. Let's talk some questions then from the Sardonicast community. Head over to the suggestion thread where you can ask us anything you feel like, just like Saul Thomas Anderson did. Thoughts on Succession? He says, as of us recording, it finished today. So
I watched last night. I've seen some stupidity on Twitter of people who hate the ending.
Is there even like division?
Like I saw a cast photo that someone posted, like, "Hey everyone, thanks for watching the show. This is like the whole cast together, like taking." And then the comments under it were like, "The ending sucked." I'm like, "Wow, guys, you guys are such fucking asshole." Of course, it's people with like blue verified check marks.
Of course,
like,
it's on Twitter.
A month, Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a bunch of morons, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, ignore the morons. The ending was fucking great. It ended exactly the way it needed to. The ending was perfect. I was very satisfied with the ending.
Feature length, like an hour and a half of goodness. Just giving you very a little moment with all the characters, especially fleshing out the main 3 kids and their conflict. It's just everything. Everything was in character. It was exactly like anything you could want.
Yeah. I don't see it ending any other way. Like the way it ended. Like that's pretty much
what do
how
people
it should
want?
end.
Like a big like death or a big like action.
I think a lot of people just like misinterpreted the show and they saw it as like, oh, this Kendall guy, he's gonna like fuck everyone up. He's gonna like, but that's like not what it's not that kind of show. It's not like a Kendall Bro show. Like, yeah, dude, he's gonna take them all. Like, it's not that kind of show.
Yeah,
at
with
all.
the grind set montages and stuff. Like, yeah, he's gonna get the deal this time. Yeah, no, it's really not about that.
No, people just like, yeah, they just miss the point of the show entirely. I will say, I like the finale. I just saw that Better Call Saul finale like last year. That was I probably liked that one a bit better as a finale. I felt like more satisfied with that one. But at the same time, like Succession, like there were so many good episodes this season. I don't think they could have topped like some of the best ones.
Yeah.
Like there were some really good ones. So it's not like the best episode of Succession or anything, the finale, but I was like happy with it. Like that's a good way to wrap it up. Yeah.
Overall, it's the best season, and definitely like brings it home the exact way you'd want, because it couldn't have really gone on much longer than 4 seasons, in my opinion. Like at a certain point, the structure of having like each season is like a big deal, and the fun kind of comes from the backstabbing of the family and like the title of like who's gonna take over Logan Roy and run the company, and they kind of stretch that just about as far as it can, and take it to its logical extremes in that 4th season especially. I've seen like every one of the episodes apart from this latest one like 2 or 3 times, because I'm in love with that dialogue, and I love the grayness of the characters, and
that attention to detail. There's a lot of details you pick up on the second time. There's just like so much. Like, it's funny this is like a mainstream successful show, because I feel like so much of it goes over people's heads, like what they're talking about, even the business angles of like certain things, the deals. But that's fine. Like, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because you like the characters, and they are like compelling characters and like sort of sympathetic to a certain extent. They're kind of shitty as well.
Yeah,
but they do a good
people.
Job of
that's kind of what's fun about it, It's like coming up with these situations where you do empathize with them, and exploring like how this succession, it's almost like Shakespearean in a way, where it's like set up like, instead of the king and queen framing, it's like the company.
It's kind of like
a
Greek tragedy.
Yeah, definitely. And all the enjoyment for me comes from these like tense relationships where everyone's backstabbing each other and like trying to figure out who can come out on top, and just the gross way this patriarch at the top of this company is kind of like just the gross like result of his dedication to building up this like megacorp, and all the like all the crossovers with reality, and like taking little hints of inspiration from like Rupert Murdoch, and like just
the Trump family.
This whole space of like it's just genius framing. I think just taking like a company that's kind of mimicking like kind of Fox News and a bunch of this like new emerging tech stuff and streaming space, and this like division with old media and like pre-established newspapers and TV networks like clashing with Silicon Valley and social media companies, tech. And there's this recurring character in later season 3 and 4, played by one of the Skarsgårds, who's like
he's
this
one of my
douchey,
favorite parts of the show.
Swedish like tech bro guy. And that's where a lot of like the humor comes from.
Yeah,
he was like a fantastic character. And the more they reveal about him, not only is like funny, but it's like really dark and fucked up.
Yeah, but he's like a great antagonist character. Like, he is really intimidating. Because you get the sense like he could eat them all up like whenever he wants. Yeah, he's a very intimidating presence. And I love the way like Alexander Skarsgård played that character, almost like a detached like weirdo. It worked great. I love
amazing
that
parody. I love that dialogue. I love the cringe humor. Jesse Armstrong, the creator of the show, created Peep Show, one of my favorite sitcoms, like a British sitcom, which is just the master of like cringe, horrible, awkward humor. One of the best episodes this season is actually I can't really say it without spoiling. Let's just say that there's like cringe comedy in Peep Show that is like rivaled by this show, and I just think, finding a way to get that cringe comedy in, but also have like the drama work as well. And it's there's so many like great lines that I'm always quoting, like the hyper decanting and just dumb shit like that. Like there's so much like depth, and I just feel like everything about it is just these characters. And Kendall Roy to me is like one of those great protagonist characters. I think he's like such an interesting like shell of a guy. Like, in his journey through the 4 seasons is like so kind of pathetic and clawing and the ups and downs of like where he goes, and the bittersweet nature of how it ends is like, this is perfect. This is everything it needed to be. Just fantastic. And they kind of upped the game with the music as well, I felt like, in this season.
The music's always great. It's one of the best things about it.
I absolutely adored this. I think, this will just be on my regular rotation, probably, like the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a great show. Absolutely. I'm glad they went out on top. And it didn't get like too repetitive. Yeah. Yeah. Like the cringe humor, there's like, Kendall rapping or whatever in season 2. You can like bring that up. Yeah. This shit like that. Yeah, I loved it. I loved the ending. No real it's like when The Sopranos ended, people were critical of that, but at the end of the day, people like the show. They'll watch it anyway. Yeah, and it's just like one episode. It's not like such a disastrous ending like the Game of Thrones finale was.
And also, like, I didn't have that same experience finishing The Sopranos. Like, I didn't find it, because it's such like one of those pop culture things. I feel like just knowing that the end of The Sopranos is controversial, that kind of going into it with that mindset already doesn't even make it that. It has like a different impact, I think.
It's a very fitting ending to that show.
Yeah, it felt like kind of a cool ending to me. Like quite a clever.
And that's how I felt about this ending. It was very fitting how it ended. It might not make everyone happy, but it pretty much hammers home the themes and message of the show.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know like what people were expecting. Were they expecting more of like a happy?
They were expecting Kendall to have a big bro moment and to win the day, and it's like
really like a Game of Thrones finale where everyone just gets everything.
Well, I saw like people were comparing it like to the whoever who gets the CEO at the end of Succession. They were comparing it to like Bran. Like at the end of Game of Thrones, but it's not that way at all.
No,
it's not even close to the same.
To me that it was going to be Kendall. It was more just like, how are we going to get there? Or like he was in the lead, and man, I'm kind of dancing around like the details. So everyone should just watch this. But amazing.
This is not the same show. Yeah. It's nothing like that Game of Thrones ending. Yeah, that was super unsatisfying.
No. It's not like it doesn't betray
that will
anything.
go down as just that will go down as just one of the worst endings ever. Like there's no controversy about that.
Yeah. Like, it was interesting. Like
everyone's in agreement with Game of Thrones.
Like 6 months ago or something, I was just thinking about the end. That's right, because I rewatched Game of Thrones. That was it. And I got to that last season and just gave up. And then I was like, I'm going to go listen to the Sardonicast discussion we had on this, like when it was fresh, when it just dropped. And I was listening to like, man, there was still like a little tinge of hope like in me when we recorded that. It like hadn't quite hit me like how truly atrocious that last season is. But man, I can't even finish it now. Like it's that embarrassing. Yeah. Man.
Yeah, I've been rewatching it too. I don't know what I'll do when I get to that part. I might just shut it off.
There's just a point where you've just kind of got to stop and just let the imagination take over.
Just like read the books.
Yeah. As much as you can.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I guess that's all.
Yeah. Do you think you'll check it out, Adam?
I will
finish it one day.
I will finish it, knowing that it has an ending that I'm already halfway towards reaching is giving me a bit more motivation to finish it.
Yeah. Because it's pretty brief. It's only like 10 episodes a season. Yeah.
I'll just pick up where I left off. I was a little bit into season 3.
Oh, cool. You can do that. All right, great. Tight.
Let's do this one from Vince's Depressed. Do you think studios will still try to do cinematic universes, or is the trend gone? Marvel's empire seems to be collapsing, DC is way too behind and failed miserably, every other attempt failed. Do you think other studios will try, or move on to video games? That seems like the obvious thing, right?
It's gamer time.
Just do it in video games. Yeah.
I think the video game thing will mesh with the cinematic universe thing. So you will get like a cinematic universe of Mario stuff. Like I think that will happen, where like they all connect and like like you'll see Mario in like another movie with like some other Nintendo character.
That has to be what's going to happen, right? Like
I think
what
that's
other direction
happen.
could they go?
It just makes too much money, that stuff, the cinematic universe thing.
Yeah, it's not enough to just like have the trilogy anymore. You got to have the empire.
There's been cinematic universes for a while. It's like, Star Wars is a cinematic universe, and I don't know.
But like, outside of Marvel, which ones have actually cemented something? Like the Star Wars one has not gone how they wanted. Like, yeah, they got like big movies out of it, but like they're not in a state where they can, MCU pump out multiple projects a year on the big screen. It's too. There's the Monsters cinematic universe that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. I feel like you need a lot of material to do something like that. So it's kind of it's rare.
That's kind of where it leaned into comic books, right? Because it's just so much to pluck.
Because you have so many. Like literally decades of history you can tap from. Like they're not even close to done with all those characters. There's a ton more, and they still have like Fantastic Four. They have X-Men. Like Marvel's gonna be fine. They'll figure it out. Like
but
there's definitely cracks in the armor, but they'll be fine.
I kind of think they're the only company that can really do it. To be honest, I don't know if there's really any room. It's kind of like, in the video game space, speaking of, like, everyone's, like, trying to get the Call of Duty killer, but it's just always there every year.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah.
We've already got it.
Right.
Like, you can't just replace the thing that's already defined this entire movement, Like, outside of the big players like Illumination making these... the NCU, I'm sure, is going to be a thing soon enough, but...
Yeah.
Ugh.
We need the Baby Boss Cinematic Universe, the BBCU. We need more God movies in the BCU, the Christ Bible.
Ooh, yeah, man.
God's Not Dead Cinematic Universe, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we're just like running out of IP to farm.
We need a Job film.
Ooh.
Get that Job
maybe
in
Aronofsky can do that, Noah too.
I'm so exhausted by all of this shit. I just want to judge movies like on their own merit. I just want to watch them. Like, do I like the director? Do I like what they're expressing? Like, what is the point of a movie anymore? Yeah, like to me, it should be about expressing something that the creators of the film want to express. Like should be a window into their soul, hopefully. But I'm not. What do we even do? Like, I don't care. Super movies could just go on forever. Video game movies could be an attempt that doesn't work. It doesn't really matter, does it? I don't know.
Yeah. Every time it goes outside of when it's the business model first, like before any story, before anything, it's like it's always so fucking overt, Like it's always so obvious that it is the business model first when it cuts to that tease for Godzilla at the end of Kong Skull Island or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's just these things are not exciting. All the excitement has already been explored. Like it's kind of over. It's kind of done. It's just not an exciting premise. That's not going to stop them there. You gotta fail publicly and on a scale so embarrassing that it will be written in stone. Hype for Flash.
Oh, dude, Flash is going to be so sick, bro.
Yeah, I thought that was going to do well. I'm not so sure now, honestly.
It's got, like, good projections.
Oh, yeah? Well, as we get closer, I see they're mostly marketing the Batman angle of it and not, like, the Flash.
Yeah.
That seems to be like the whole thing. Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
It is interesting. Like, it looks like it's going to track okay, but is it, like... okay enough to fix the whole position that the studios are in with the DC stuff. I don't know about that.
It seems like probably maybe the swan song of the like Snyderverse or something. Like I don't know, like the death rattle. Like
the swan song.
I don't know. Like maybe they'll use it. They'll probably do. Here's my prediction. They'll probably do like an X-Men thing, and they'll be like, "This is transitioning the universe into the other ones," and then everybody will be like, "Oh, we got to see the Flash because it's going to explain." Why the universe is James Gunn style now.
Yeah, that's the only thing. That's the only reason it seems like the movie exists, to be honest, and the only reason they didn't cancel it. Like,
it's a good theory,
Yeah.
Fuck everything. Do another question.
Okay, let's do this one from Chris Smith, 42069. What's your opinion on the trailer for the movie The Creator? Personally, I think it's refreshing to see a studio putting a lot of money and faith behind an original idea for a sci-fi movie, since studios tend to focus more on reboots, sequels, and superhero movies. Cheers, guys. Love the podcast.
It's about Gareth Edwards AI.
Gareth Edwards, the Rogue One director and the Godzilla director, speaking of.
A very, technically impressive director. He's like a kind of James Cameron, where his movies, like, always push boundaries in that way. Like, apparently the movie was shot on, like, the movie, like, the creator, the whole movie was shot on, like, a consumer-grade, like, camera. Like, one of those, like, really? DSLRs. Yeah, but it looks fucking amazing. It looks amazing, the movie. Like, it looks like something you shot on film. So, it's pushing that kind of boundary.
Take that, Red.
Yeah. Fuck that.
When I think of monsters, Godzilla, Rogue One, there are some, like, there is, like, a little spark of, especially, like, visual scale kind of genius going on. But yeah, it's more the characters and the scripts that usually let them down a bit more. I'm glad it is like an original IP. I like that AI is like a big part of it. That seems like unintentionally well timed. But there is like when I was watching the trailer, there's like one of the main characters is like a little kid, like a little robot kid.
So I don't know.
It could go either way.
The execution of that character, the execution of it will be what sells it for me.
Here's the thing:
Remember
I watched the trailer,
movie?
And it's an original IP on a technical, like by technicality. It doesn't seem like it's going to be like all that original of a movie. It looks kind of Star Warsy. It looks kind of fucking AI or whatever. It looks pretty derivative and just like, okay, this is a movie, and you don't usually invest that much money into something unless it's bland as fuck. In this current year, like, it either has to be like existing IP or the safest fucking story you could possibly imagine. So that's my expectation for it. Hope to be pleasantly surprised, but who knows? Maybe I won't even see it.
It could go either way. I'm sure visually it'll be cool. That's
reminds me a little bit of Oblivion. It might kind of go that way. You remember that one?
Yeah.
Tom Hanks movie,
right?
Yeah.
Which looked great visually, but it was very derivative.
Exactly,
the story. Yeah, it was like he was like But the movie was it was like Moon, basically, like the same story as Moon. And Moon is a much better movie.
Was Tom Hanks in Oblivion? What?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Tom Cruise.
Or did I say Tom Hanks instead of Cruise?
I swear you said Tom Hanks, unless I had a brain.
I must. He's on my mind because of that quote from earlier.
Because of
You
Geppetto.
confused me so hard.
Pinocchio.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not like hyped for it or anything. Like, as far as sci-fi, I'm much more excited for Dune coming out. But I'll check this out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
Dune.
That was a good trailer. I like the black and white stuff in that movie.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm ready.
I'm ready too. Let's do it.
One more question.
So let's end on this one from Realistic Writing 35, one of the most upvoted comments in the thread. What are your thoughts on Hey Arnold?
Football head.
It's been forever since I've seen that show. I watched it as a kid and I saw the movie, but it's been forever. Like, I don't know. I don't
know if I can pull anything from my memory about Hey Arnold.
Yeah.
I remember enjoying it when I was younger.
Sorry, guys.
There was a grandpa.
I enjoyed it. It's not one I've kept up with like religiously or like rewatched religiously like SpongeBob.
It's not even something that I feel like any sort of compulsion to revisit.
No, me either.
The character designs are cool. Like the distinct shapes.
My biggest takeaway is the character designs. The football shaped head of the main character, kind of like Stewie from Family Guy. That's like it. I was actually like, when I screenshot this, I was thinking that it said the show Arthur. I was getting mixed up with Arthur and Hey Arnold.
You think about Arthur.
Hey, what? And Arthur was only on my mind because I found out recently that Steven Crowder was a voice on it.
Yes,
which is quite. That's it. That's all I really have to say about Arthur.
That's
and
funny.
That and the intro.
He played one of the characters when he was like a kid or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arthur went on for a while.
Look how he turned out.
Arthur was like one of the longest running kids shows, like animated kid shows.
259 episodes. Holy moly.
Cray cray. There's some memes from Arthur, you know? Like where he has
I've
his
seen
fist
it.
and he like punches DW
Yeah.
in the fucking mouth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I've
his
seen those
clenched.
fists, yeah.
That's right.
You know what? I have weird memories of Arthur because it like the show influenced me as a kid in terms of like just seeing something on television and replicating it. I distinctly remember there was like an episode where there was like the white bunny character. I don't remember his name. And there was like, his mom was like pushing him in a grocery cart or something. And he like grabbed like some lettuce and just like ate it. And then for some reason, I must have been like 4 years old or some shit. Like, I was born in 91, so I was at least, I don't know, 5 or 6. And then I just remember like, I'm going to do that because I just saw it in the show. And I tried it once and then my mom got mad and then I never did it again.
Thanks, Arthur. Encouraging kids to steal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people often recognize just how much of what children see in media they just imitate. Mm-hmm. You know, and sometimes I see like a clip from a kid's show. I'm like, just don't put that in the fucking kitchen. Like some kid's gonna like do that and think
fetish shit.
Yeah, like anything that you don't want kids to be doing, don't show it in a kid's show.
Yeah,
or else they'll do it. Just don't give them bad ideas. Just have your kids show be like either silly, weird SpongeBob shit, or like I don't know, good moral lessons, and just be like, oh, you know what? It's actually better when you share, and that you're don't be an asshole to people. That's all you really need of a kids show. They'll fucking watch anything. Yeah. Ban furry characters.
That's the Arthur takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And I said, hey, what a wonderful kind of day. See, I remember the theme song to Arthur, but not Hey Arnold.
Yeah, same actually.
Yeah, but we got asked about Hey Arnold. How did we get on?
Sorry,
Arthur?
yeah, I know so little about Hey Arnold. Even though I've seen a bunch of it.
That's why we're talking
my mind
about
just
Arthur,
goes straight to Arthur. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's see if I can search up the theme song.
Let's just talk about another kid show.
Yeah. It was Hey Arnold and what was that other Recess, right? It was like all these kind of
Recess I never watched. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, Recess? Yeah. That was fun. I remember the theme song
that
for
a bit better.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess that's it.
Yeah, done and dusted.
DW was such a shit. I fucking hated her. She's so annoying. DW. Oh my god. That clip of what was the bunny's name? He's like, would people really just do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies? I've used that before. Yeah. I love that.
No, it's just looking at the character names. They got some fun ones. Binky Barnes, Buster Baxter.
I think Buster's the rabbit, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. We're having a guest on the next episode.
Yeah, cool.
Krastan Rangquist?
Huh?
Karsten Rundquist. Is going to join us on the next episode, and they have recommended a film that we will discuss. It is a 2008 film called Wendy and Lucy by Kelly Reichardt. I've seen it. I don't know if Ralph and Alex have seen it, but
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. All right, if you don't want to be spoiled for Wendy and Lucy, 2008 film directed by Kelly Reichardt, watch it before the next episode. These episodes come out every 2 weeks. You can listen to them early by going to sardonicast.com, signing up for premium, or going to patreon.com/sardonicast. It's only $2 a month. You can feel good about yourself and support the show, keep us out of poverty. There's some merch in the description. You can buy some merch if you want. No pressure. There's a
keep us out of poverty,
right? $2, it does a lot.
No, sorry.
We've got a Sardonicast highlights channel on YouTube you can subscribe to. And I guess that's about it. Have a happy 1000th planet. I don't know if we're ever going to...
Happy Final Fantasy. Happy Final Fantasy, the spirits within.
Yeah, make sure you go to the doc and get your phantom intensity checked, okay? Because that's important.
Oh yeah, please. You gotta watch out for that phantom intensity. Nonsense. It sneaks up on you. After age 35, you really got to get that checked out. like frequently.
Yeah.
I forgot to get my phantom intensity checked out. Now I'm like fucked. It's screwed.
Yeah, I don't think insurance covers it either, so.
No. I'll check out my phantom intensity when I'm back in Canada. I'll do that. All right. Have a happy Shrek. Bye everybody. Bye.
Bye.